local farms, and it's the start of asparagus season. So this is the time to be using asparagus and enjoying it. We actually have this soup here ready for people to sample if you want to try it out. But I'm going to get started in demoing the recipe. I'm just going to take this yellow onion and use about half of it. So I'm cutting out the base and the top, cutting it in half. We won't need that second half. And I'm going to clean the first layer off. You don't use that part. While I'm cutting the onion, I am going to get my pan turned on so it starts to heat up a little bit. And I can put my olive oil and butter in the pan. Probably about a teaspoon of each is good, maybe a little more oil than a teaspoon, but you can use your eye on that. And I'm just going to cut the onion, cut it in half without removing the root end. You can quickly just cut it into strips so it's easy to saute. I'm going to do the same with the celery. It's about 2 stalks of celery, and it's a fine size, I think. So again, I'm just going to cut it into strips real quickly. There we go. Looks like the pan has a little bit of heat. Butter's melted, so I'm going to add the onion and the celery to the pan. And that will cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. You want to keep it from coloring, so I added a little salt right away. The salt actually pulls the moisture out of the celery and onion from the beginning so that there's a little extra water in the pan which will keep it from browning. So it's a good trick if you don't want your vegetables to brown. While this is cooking, I'll talk to you a little bit about the asparagus. Asparagus is a green vegetable, of course. I'm sure most of you are familiar. This is already been blanched, cut and blanched. And the reason we do that is to preserve the color. So the asparagus, we just brought a big pot of water to boil. Put the asparagus in with some salt and cooked it through for about 4 minutes, and then shocked it in an ice bath after it came out of that water. That's going to help retain the color that you want for the soup. I don't know if you were able to try it yet, but the soup here is a really nice vivid green color, and that's coming from that blanching and shocking step of the asparagus. If you were just to cook the asparagus with the other vegetables in the recipe, it would be nearly as bright and vibrant in color. So that's a good trick for you if you're ever making a soup like this. At where the vegetables might turn brown if they cook longer, like asparagus does, you want to blanch it, shock it, and then add it in at the very end of the soup making process. That way you keep your color nice and green. So I can add a little more salt here. And once this has been cooking for 5 to 7 minutes, it will start to look nice and soft. The onions will soften up a little bit. That's when you want to add the garlic, because garlic can burn. So I'm going to add that a little bit after the onion and celery. So I just pounded the garlic to conceal it. So it doesn't really matter how, perfectly you slice everything, the onion and celery included. It's just really to cook evenly is what you're cutting the vegetables for. again, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. And I probably have some pepper at this point. It's good to have a pepper mill that works at home when you need it. And that's really it. So this is going to cook. You want your vegetables to be cooked until they're soft. So the celery and onions should be nice and soft. And then all you want to do is remove this from the heat and steep in the herbs, which are basil and parsley in this case. And you can throw those in whole. So I'm going to turn the heat off for now. You're adding in the parsley and the basil. And let that steep. And cool this down. So that when you're ready to blend it, it's pretty much already cool. And again, that's going to help retain the color of the asparagus. So if you actually puree the soup when it's cold, it will help keep your soup really beautiful and green. I do have a blender over here, but I almost think it's not worth doing because of the noise and all that. So basically, I'll show you. What I would do, once this is cooled off completely, is just transfer this liquid to your blender and add the asparagus. Absolutely, very good question. The question was, can you use an immersion blender for this? And you definitely can. If you have a larger pot, like a soft pot, that you can definitely get the immersion blender into. This one's a little too, shallow for that. So, but yeah, that's a great suggestion. My one suggestion though is if you want your soup to be extremely smooth, a stand-up blender usually does a better job of getting really, really smooth. At the restaurant, we oftentimes use an immersion blender first, and then transfer it to a regular blender to get it as smooth as possible. Good question. So again, you'll add about 2 bunches of the blanched and chopped asparagus that we use to keep the color really beautiful and green. And that just goes in your blender. And you're going to want to just adjust the liquid as you see fit. I know now that I'm going to need more liquid in this. Yeah. What's that? Oh, good question. I don't have any asparagus to show you. I wonder, can you grab a bunch? I'll show you a bunch of asparagus and show you how we clean it at the restaurant and how you can do it at home. That's a good thought. So again, I'm going to add a little more liquid because I know this will need it. I'm just adding more water. And that looks about right to go to the blending process. So I would just take this to your blender, blend it up. Make sure you taste it at this point, and you'll want to either thin it out with more water if you need it, or add more seasoning, salt and pepper. And that's really it. Chill it really well, and then it's ready to be served. So let me show you this quickly. So this is asparagus. This is really great local stuff right now. Just coming in locally in local farms. So you can find it down the way here at Produce Express. Also at farmers markets around town now. You're starting to find asparagus. So it's really cool. The way you want to clean it is just take the stalk and snap the end off, which should happen pretty naturally. This part you want to discard. You don't want to use that. This is the part you'll use. And then you can just do that with a bunch, snap the bottom off. And for our purposes, we didn't peel the asparagus. And an asparagus this skinny, I don't think I would peel because it's so young and tender that it's probably delicious just as it is. If you get a thicker asparagus, it's sometimes good to peel it with a vegetable peeler, just like this one. And you just want to gently run your peeler down the length of the asparagus spear. So that's what it would look like if you didn't want to use the outside. But for a soup like this, you can use the entire piece of asparagus. No need to peel it. This would be more like for a salad application. name is